believe your desire to be liked is a social virtue. You think being unconditionally agreeable makes you an honorable, decent person. But the painful truth is, you are actively embracing emotional parasites simply because they have learned to mimic the exact validation your mind desperately needs to hear to feel safe. Listen to me very carefully, because the social landscape is shifting rapidly. The unspoken rules of power are changing, and the window of opportunity to build an impenetrable psychological armor is closing faster than you think. What I am about to reveal in this video is not public knowledge. It is a highly guarded, exclusive breakdown of how elite social predators map out your insecurities and use your desperate need for approval as a weapon against you. Right now, your neediness is funding your own social destruction. If you choose to click away right now, you are making a fatal choice. You are guaranteeing that your internal power, your time, and your status will remain permanently drained by covert manipulators who view your constant people-pleasing purely as free, exploitable labor. Every single day you operate with this mindset, you are bleeding leverage. But if you stay until the very end of this video, I will hand you the exact psychological blueprint to completely destroy your need for external validation, sever the invisible strings controlling your life, and command instant respect without saying a single word. Let's get one thing straight from the start. Nobody respects a doormat. You grew up being programmed to believe that if you are nice, accommodating, and always put others first, the world will reward you with unbreakable loyalty and deep admiration. That is the biggest, most destructive lie of human behavior ever sold to the masses. The brutal reality of social hierarchies is that people do not value what they can get for free, and you constantly bend your boundaries, over-explain your decisions, and agree with opinions you actually despise just to keep the fragile peace in the room. You are not building authentic connections. You are teaching the room that your presence has zero cost and zero leverage. Think about the people in your life who currently walk all over you, the ones who consistently disregard your time and dismiss your opinions. They do not do it because they are inherently evil masterminds. They do it because you gave them the exact instruction manual on how to treat you. Every single time you shrink yourself to avoid a moment of conflict, you are quietly negotiating away your dignity. You are broadcasting a loud message that says, "My comfort is less important than your approval." And in the dark psychology of human interaction, that is an open invitation for relentless exploitation. Your desire to be liked is the ultimate vulnerability because it makes your reactions entirely predictable. And in the game of power, predictability is social death, the architecture of covert manipulation. Let's look at how elite predators actually operate in the shadows of everyday life. Covert narcissists and social manipulators do not come at you with a weapon drawn. They come at you with a mirror. They operate like highly evolved hunters who have cracked your specific psychological code. Human manipulators reflect your deepest, most silent desires for inclusion. They identify your desperate, pathetic need to fit in, and they feed it just enough to get you completely addicted to their presence. They simulate absolute loyalty and fake warmth simply to draw your energy. Once they know you are terrified of being disliked, they own you. Ignorance of this Machiavellian tactic mathematically ensures your permanent status as an obedient pawn in their carefully constructed game. One of the most ruthless strategies these operators use against agreeable people is the illusion of uninvited debts. Predators know that humans are deeply conditioned by society to return favors, so they will offer you a tiny, fake crumb of validation, maybe a well-timed compliment in front of a group, an unrequested favor that cost them nothing, or a sudden burst of intense attention. And because your ego is starved for approval, your mind registers this tiny gesture as a massive, unforgettable debt. Suddenly, you feel a deep, heavy obligation to repay them. You start saying yes to their unreasonable demands. You start laughing at their disrespectful jokes. You begin to defend their toxic behavior to other people just to prove your loyalty. You are trapped in a cage of your own making, built entirely by your fear of losing their temporary approval. The darkest secret of toxic relationships is that the predator doesn't ever need to chain you to the wall. They offer a fake illusion of social approval, and your own pathetic desperation to be liked builds the iron bars of your mental cage. They know that as long as you care what they think, they hold the remote control to your reality. They will manufacture heavy situations where your desire to be perceived as a good friend or a team player forces you to carry their emotional baggage, do their dirty work, and completely abandon your own personal goals. You believe you are maintaining a peaceful environment, but in reality, you are voluntarily submitting to the absolute bottom of the social hierarchy. Every time you shrink to maintain a fraudulent peace, you bleed leverage and actively fund the dominance of covert emotional parasites. Your empathy in these situations is not a virtue. It is a pathetic coping mechanism designed to hide your paralyzing fear of social friction, the Machiavellian power of scarcity. So, how do the top 1% of operators completely detach from this trap? How do they walk into a room and command absolute respect without seeking a single drop of validation from anyone? They understand the absolute power of scarcity. In the marketplace of human interaction, the rules of supply and demand are absolute. If you are always available, always smiling, always eager to help, and always ready to drop your own priorities for someone else, your value plummets to the bottom of the barrel. People only respect what is difficult to obtain. When you make your attention, your time, and your emotional reactions scarce, their perceived value skyrockets instantly. The individuals who command the highest status in any hierarchy are the ones who do not give their energy freely. They guard their focus as if their life depends on it, because socially it does. If you want people to value you, you must become intimately comfortable with the art of strategic withdrawal. This is not about hiding in your room, throwing a tantrum, or cutting off the entire world in a fit of rage. It is about removing your emotional availability from anyone who has not earned the right to have it. Right now, your attention is dangerously cheap. You give it to anyone who texts you, anyone who asks for a favor, anyone who throws a passing glance your way. To break the curse of people-pleasing, you have to treat your attention like high-grade currency. When a toxic friend tries to rope you into their endless, cyclical drama, you withdraw. You don't argue, you don't debate, you don't write a long paragraph explaining why you are busy. You simply become unavailable. When a coworker tries to take credit for your work or consistently disrespects your time, you don't seek their understanding or wait for an apology. You pull back your warmth. You become purely transactional, and you let them feel the freezing drop in temperature. People only respect what they fear losing. It is a fundamental law of human behavior that people are far more motivated by the thought of losing something valuable than by the thought of gaining something of equal value. As long as they know you will always be there, smiling and eager to please regardless of how they treat you, they will use you as a doormat. The moment they realize your presence is highly conditional, the power dynamic flips violently. They suddenly start craving your validation. The hunter becomes the hunted. Your absence becomes your most powerful statement. Your unavailability becomes magnetic. Your strict boundaries become your ultimate source of power. The asymmetry of silence technique. When someone challenges you, tests your boundaries, or throws a disguised insult your way, your immediate reflex as a people-pleaser is to explain yourself. You rush to fill the silence. You over-apologize. You try desperately to make them understand your point of view. You bleed massive amounts of energy trying to control their perception of you. The truly powerful do the exact opposite. When they are tested, they deploy the asymmetry of silence. They speak less than necessary to maintain absolute superiority and an aura of mystery. Silence is the most terrifying weapon in dark psychology because it provides zero information to the enemy. It creates a massive, uncomfortable void, and human beings are psychologically terrified of voids. When you don't react, you force the manipulator to sit in their own awkward, aggressive energy. You deny them the emotional supply they were hunting for. Think about it. When someone attacks you with words and you come back with more words, you have entered their game. You are playing by their rules. You have given them exactly what they wanted, a reaction. But when you respond with cold, unbroken eye contact and absolute silence, the game stops. The power shifts entirely to you. They throw a punch, and you don't even blink. By simply not caring enough to defend yourself, you instantly project the aura of someone who is fundamentally above the attack. You communicate, without uttering a single syllable, that their opinion of you is so insignificant it does not even warrant the energy of your vocal cords. This destroys people more than any clever comeback ever could. Manipulators also frequently use the contrast principle to break your boundaries. They will make a massive, completely unreasonable demand. When you look shocked, they will quickly retreat to a slightly smaller, yet still invasive demand. Because you desperately want to be liked and avoid conflict, you perceive this smaller demand as a generous concession on their part. You feel a sudden, irrational obligation to meet them halfway. You end up doing something you never wanted to do, simply because it looked smaller in comparison to their initial outrageous request. You need to see this tactic for exactly what it is: pure, calculated exploitation. When you recognize that their initial offer was a setup designed to manipulate your sense of fairness, you owe them absolutely nothing. A trick does not deserve a favor in return. You give them silence and a flat, unapologetic no. No excuses, no softening the blow, no justifications. Just a clean, sharp boundary that cannot be crossed. Escaping the herd mentality. Your constant need to fit into your social circle is turning you into a disposable pawn. Human beings are governed by the intense need to fit into the group, a primitive force that drives the herd effect. We are wired to look at what the crowd is doing to determine what is correct. But when you apply this instinct to your own personal worth, it becomes a deadly, unstoppable virus. You start believing that if the group doesn't validate your choices, your clothes, your career, or your lifestyle, you are fundamentally worthless. By shutting down your cold rationality just to please the herd, you are handing total control of your life to covert manipulators who dictate the group's direction. To hold true power, you must completely detach your self-worth from the consensus of the group. The elite understand that the herd is almost always wrong. The herd is highly emotional, completely blind, and easily steered toward the slaughterhouse. Many of you watching this are trapped in relationships or jobs where you were promised respect, value, and growth, only to have it stripped away the moment you fully committed. You were lowballed. They gave you a false, inflated sense of importance to secure your absolute loyalty. And now you are staying because your mind has built a fake support system of excuses to justify the misery. You tell yourself, they are just having a hard time right now. Or, if I am just a little nicer and work a little harder, they will finally see my true worth. This is a pathetic lack of a spine disguised as noble empathy. You are lying to yourself. The moment you realize your desire to be liked is forcing you to stay in an exploitative, dead-end environment, you must cut the cord. No dramatic exits, no long emotional speeches seeking closure, just a quiet, permanent withdrawal of your presence. Weak people are utterly terrified of social friction. They will do anything, tolerate any disrespect, and swallow any insult to avoid a confrontational silence. Elite operators, on the other hand, embrace friction. They use friction deliberately to test the hierarchy and see who actually holds the power. When you stop being nice and start being real, you will introduce heavy, uncomfortable friction into your relationships. People who were entirely used to walking all over you will be outraged. They will try to shame you. They will call you selfish, arrogant, cold, and toxic. Good, let them. That is the beautiful sound of the emotional parasites starving to death. Let the friction burn away every toxic, one-sided connection in your life. The people who actually belong in your reality will respect the new boundary. The ones who leave angrily were only ever there to consume your energy. Reclaim your absolute psychological control. We need to get highly specific right now, because not everyone deserves to be ignored in the exact same way. There are energy parasites explicitly disguised as your close friends. You know exactly who I am talking about. They always have a new crisis, a new drama, a new tragedy, and you always step in to help because you pride yourself on being a good person. But understand this, they are not looking for actual solutions to their problems. They are looking for endless attention. They suck your energy, your time, your focus, and your mental space, and they give absolutely nothing back when you are the one in need. You must erase them from your reality, not dramatically, not by exposing them publicly or fighting with them. Quietly, completely, and permanently. Stop responding to their frantic messages. Stop showing up to their manufactured drama. Treat them like they are entirely invisible, because to you, they should be. Your attention is the most valuable asset you own, and absolutely none of it should go to people who do not actively add to your power and your peace. This is the ultimate psychological transformation. You must stop seeing yourself as a minor supporting character in their movie, and start realizing that you are the ruthless director of your own reality. If someone doesn't like you, if someone misunderstands your intentions, or if someone whispers about you behind your back, that is their heavy psychological burden to carry, not yours. You must build an impenetrable armor of self-reliance. You validate yourself. You respect yourself. The greatest operators in the world do not waste a single heartbeat trying to convince a hater of their true worth. They understand that criticism from a loser is actually a massive badge of honor. It proves that you are moving forward while they remain stuck in the swamp of mediocrity. The next time you walk into a room, do not desperately scan the faces to see who approves of you. Scan the room to see who is actually worth your valuable time. Flip the frame entirely. The world is not interviewing you. You are interviewing the world. You have a critical choice to make right now. You can close this video, go back to your normal life, and continue to be the smiling, accommodating, exhausted puppet that everyone uses and absolutely nobody respects. You can continue to let the deep-seated fear of disapproval dictate your every single move, keeping you trapped at the bottom of the dominance hierarchy forever. But know this, every day you operate with this weakness, you are bleeding status, and predators are mathematically calculating your lack of leverage to climb above you. Or you can make the definitive decision today to kill the people-pleaser inside you. If this painful truth hit you exactly where it needed to, if you are finally ready to stop begging for scraps of validation and start commanding the respect you deserve, drop the words, "no respect," in the comments right now. Draw a permanent line in the sand today. Take back the power you have been freely giving away to the unworthy. And if you want to master the exact, step-by-step dark psychology and warfare tactics that the elite use to dominate every social hierarchy, hit the subscribe button. Do it now. The social game is ruthless, and the unprepared will be eaten alive. Stay cold, stay silent, and never apologize for your power.